Hi, my name's Heidi. I'm actually making this video because I found myself looking for a specific view or a specific piece of information, and I wasn't really finding it anywhere, and I thought to myself, I can't be the only person out there looking for this information and coming up short not finding it. So I figured I would share what I know the best I can to maybe help someone else find this information as well. So for starters, I'm a mom of 3, Carolyn, Benjamin, and Jackson. I'm also 27 weeks pregnant with number 4. His name's Beckett, and we just recently learned that Beckett will be born with Down syndrome, but I'll kind of get into that probably in my next video a little more detail. Right now, I just want to talk to you about how Down syndrome happens and what exactly Down syndrome is. First thing I want to ask you is a question. Did you know that 1 in every 691 babies born in the US has Down syndrome? That's 6,000 a year, which is about 500 a month. That's a crazy amount. And again, I went looking for information and I couldn't find the specific bits of information I was looking for. 500 a month in just the US alone. That's not even the whole world. And it's something that it affects all races, all economic levels. Just happens. So, first, to understand how Down syndrome happens, you have to kind of know a little bit about genetics. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a geneticist. I'm just a mom, a parent who was looking for information. I've talked to doctors. I've talked to geneticists, a couple of them. But I'm not one myself. So this is just what I know. So for starters, we know that the human body is made up of cells. And those cells are made up of, disclaimer number 2, I'm not an artist. Those cells are made up of, I don't know if you can see that very well, chromosomes. You have 22 chromosomes and 1 sex gene. Here's your chromosome. So each chromosome is made up of 2 genes. 1 gene from mom and 1 gene from dad. That's how you're formed. At fertilization, you get 1 chromosome from mom and 1 chromosome from dad. The map, so we know there's the cell, and then inside the cell is the chromosomes, and inside each chromosome is 2 genes. The map of the chromosomes of your body, your genes, is called a karyotype. A karyotype basically is, like I said, it's a map. It shows all 22 of your chromosomes plus your sex gene. XX if you're a female and XY if you're a male. So Down syndrome occurs when there's an anomaly, a genetic anomaly in the 21st chromosome. That's what defines it as Down syndrome. It's the 21st chromosome. What you may not know, though, is that there are actually 3 different types of Down syndrome. The most common is called Trisomy 21. It's about 95% of all Down syndrome. Trisomy 21 means that there are 3 genes in the 21st chromosome. Normally, like I said, you get 1 from each parent. So in Trisomy 21, you're going to get your 17, 18, 19, 20. If you see the 21st chromosome here has 3 instead of 2. That's what defines it as Trisomy 21. 3 chromosomes in the 21st, or 3 genes in the 21st chromosome. It's just something that happens. You can't really predict it. The next form of Down syndrome is only about 3 to 4%. It's called translocation. Now, translocation kind of has some extra things with it. Translocation is when part or all of that 21st chromosome breaks off and attaches itself to another chromosome. So here you can see there's the 18 or 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21, 22. 21 only has the one here because the other has attached itself here in the 18th. It can attach itself to any chromosome. It doesn't have to be the 18th. That's just the one that was easiest for me to show you. It could have, you could end up with the 2 here, and then, or, and then part here, or half of one here, and it broke off to here. But that's what defines translocation. It basically relocates itself onto another chromosome, attaches itself. Couple different things about translocation. Translocation is the only form of Down syndrome that can be carried hereditary. So if you or someone you know has been told that it's Trisomy 21, it wasn't hereditary. It's nothing that was carried in the genes themselves. It just happened during fertilization. It just happened by fluke, basically, or grand design, or whatever. It wasn't something hereditary. And even though translocation is the only one that can be hereditary, only about 1/3 of translocation is hereditary. So that's about 1% of all Down syndrome altogether. Now, the last form of Down syndrome is a little bit different. With Trisomy 21 and translocation, it's just something that happens at the point of fertilization. When your base cell is formed, it happens. But the third form is called Mosaicism because it's something that happens after fertilization. So basically the result is that some of the cells come out as normal cells, just completely normal with the 22 basic chromosomes and the sex gene. And then some of the cells come out with that 21st chromosome anomaly. That's what defines it as mosaicism. Now, with the, of course, exception of mosaicism, with translocation and trisomy 21, it's something that happens just at fertilization. And of course we know that when life is formed, it copies or replicates. So every cell comes out the way that the one before it was as well. So that genetic anomaly is carried to every cell in the body. It's not just a piece, partial, or that sort of thing. It's carried to every single cell in the body, which is a good piece of information to know. Now, the next questions that are probably being had right now, if you are pregnant, or your spouse is, or someone you know, you may be wondering, how do you or they find out? Now, unless you have extra testing done because of age or family history or that sort of thing, then the most common way that people find out is at their ultrasound around or after 20 weeks. I think mine was at 22 or 23 weeks, around there. So when they do that ultrasound, they may find genetic defects, or for example, they may find like intestinal defects or problems, or problems with the heart, as in the way they're formed or that sort of thing. They also may find an irregular spacing in the toes, which can also be an indicator of Down syndrome. Now, these things, obviously, you can have a heart defect before birth, or an intestinal defect, or whatever, blockage, whatever, before birth, and it not be Down syndrome. But as an ultrasound tech or doctor's job, when they find these anomalies, especially if there's more than one of these issues, they have to ask themselves, for the good of you and the good of your child as well, they have to ask, are these related, or is it just a fluke that they've occurred? So that's when they usually go in and they'll recommend a level 2 ultrasound. Again, not a doctor, I don't really know a lot about it. As far as I know, a level 2 ultrasound is just a more detailed image for ultrasounds. But if they're still finding the same things and still finding enough reason to believe that it could possibly be a genetic thing, they may recommend a amniocentesis. Now, an amniocentesis is something that's a lot scarier in theory than it really is. This is my 4th pregnancy, and I was terrified. I never had one until this pregnancy, and I was so worried, and it really was not nearly as bad. I will tell you that right now. It is not that bad as it sounds. So, the way that an amniocentesis is done, my last little imagery for you with my stick baby here. So if this is your belly and the baby's here, for the amniocentesis, there's going to be an ultrasound tech who is going to use an ultrasound to see where the baby is and where the baby is not, where there is open fluid that the baby is not occupying. And then the doctor is going to take a needle and insert it into your belly in that area not occupied by the baby. They're going to pull out some of the amniotic fluid and then pull out the needle, and it's done. Now, a couple things. First of all, the needle is about the same thickness as a needle that would draw your blood. It's not that bad. It's just, if you're pregnant, you've had blood drawn, and you'll probably have blood drawn some more. So it's just the same. It's no thicker or anything. Or if you've been in the hospital or anything like that, then it's the same thickness. The only difference is it's longer, which isn't a big deal. That's because it has to go through your skin and through the uterine wall and that sort of thing. So it's just a little bit longer. Now, the reason that they're taking the amniotic fluid, they're only taking a small amount, and new fluid is created every day. So the taking of that small amount is not going to hurt the baby. The reasoning, though, that they're taking amniotic fluid, though, is because, as you know, humans shed skin, dead skin cells, every day. Those cells, they're dead skin cells, but they're still cells. So they still contain your DNA in them. Babies are no different before birth. They're still shedding those skin cells, those cells every day. But the difference is there's nowhere for them to go. So instead, they stay suspended in the amniotic fluid. And so when the doctor takes that amniotic fluid, they're getting some of those cells as well. The thing that you should know, though, is there is some pain. My doctor explained it to me as a period cramp. Now, it could be different for me because it's probably been about a decade since I knew what that felt like. But I don't think it was a period cramp. I think it was a little worse. I mean, that's just when you stick a needle into a muscle, the muscle cramps. It's just the muscle's reaction. But I felt like it was more like almost like a contraction if you've been pregnant before. It was like maybe a mid-labor contraction or that sort of thing. It really, once it was done, it was like, okay, no big deal. It cramped up while they were taking it, but it was relatively quick. They stuck it in, took the fluid out, and then the needle was gone. It didn't last that long. It wasn't that bad. The last thing before we go on to result process of the amniocentesis is there are some risks that come with it that you should know. About 1 in 200 to 1 in 400 cases where an amniocentesis is done do result in miscarriage. It is something to be aware of. There's also, as with any medical procedure, any blood draw, any surgery, anything, there is, a possible risk of an infection. Now, obviously, your doctor or whoever is performing an amniocentesis is going to clean the instruments. They are going to clean everything they are using. They are going to clean your stomach before they are going to do this procedure. But there's always a risk of infection anytime you enter a hospital or a doctor's office. So it's a good thing to know. There's also a risk of preterm labor that comes with an amniocentesis. Now, some people, they choose to not have the amniocentesis done because they decide that it's not worth the risk, which I respect if somebody decides not to have it done. I totally understand if you feel it's not worth the risk to have it done. And some people, they decide to wait until a little bit later to have it done. Of course, your doctors, they're not going to recommend that you get it done after 30 weeks, probably. But some people decide to wait a few weeks because the survival rates jump higher. So they decide to wait those extra couple weeks to try to, just in case something was to happen and you went into preterm labor. Now, of course, if you go into preterm labor, your doctor is going to give you, or the hospital is going to give you something to try to stop that labor. They're going to do what they can to stop you from delivering. But, of course, if there's nothing medically safe for them to do, then you're going to deliver. I'm not saying this to scare anyone, but it's something to know when you make that decision. That's super rare case. Again, it almost never happens, but it's good to have all the information. Now, I had an amniocentesis done, and I feel that I should give my reasoning of why I got mine done. I've given the risks and how it's done and that sort of thing, but I feel like I should tell you why. So, like I said before, I have 3 other kids. I also have a very large family, and for preparation for not only my family but my children as well and myself, I felt that it was important to know if this is what we should expect. Also, because of some of the other health concerns that we were facing, I wanted to know for sure if that's why, or personally, I wanted to know if there was something else that was causing it, or if it's something I did, or, I behave as I should being pregnant. But you always, whenever there's somebody telling you there is something wrong with your child, you wonder, did I do something? Was it me? So it's one of those things I felt that I needed to know, especially if the results were going to come back positive. I wanted to be able to prepare my children. I wanted to be able to prepare my family for the road we were going to face ahead. Again, especially with some of the health concerns that we were having, which I'll get into probably in my next video. So now that we've moved from the amniocentesis, we'll go into results. So the first set of results is called the fish results. It's something that stands for a much longer word. It stands for fluorescence in situ hybridization. I have no idea what specifically medically that means. I'm still working on learning, you know. I feel like I've done a lot of reading. I've done a lot of learning, but I'm still, some of those things, I'm not really sure what the long version of that means. But your doctor is going to call it a fish result, or your geneticist. We had an amazing geneticist, and even she told me, hey, it stands for something long, but everybody just calls it a fish because it's much easier to say. So the fish results take about 3 to 4 days, depending on how long it takes for the lab to get it and to process and that sort of thing. So the fish results contain for starters, the amniocentesis is done to get that karyotype. They're using those cells to map out that karyotype for the baby, to find out if there is an anomaly in any of those chromosomes. So with the fish results, they're going to streamline a couple specific chromosomes. Before they map out everything, they're looking specifically for the 13th, the 18th, the 21st, and the sex gene. Those are the chromosomes that they look for in the fish results. I don't know why they look for the sex gene. I'm not really sure on that. I've never been told. Maybe it has to do with one of the other genetic anomalies. I'm not sure. I don't know. The 21st, of course, if they find an anomaly in the 21st chromosome, then of course we know it's Down syndrome. The 13th and 18th, they don't really have cute names, or names that are like common or well known. To my understanding, when identified with a problem with the 13th or 18th chromosome, usually the rate of survival is very low, or they don't live very fulfilled lives. That's all I know about those. That's another reason I decided that I wanted to have the amniocentesis, because I wanted to know whether it was something with the 13th or 18th that was more serious, or if it was the 21st. So 3 to 4 days and you'll get that. You'll get a call from your doctor, your geneticist, saying, yes, we found this, no, we did not. About a week, 7 to 10 days after that after the original amniocentesis, you'll get the full karyotype will be ready. The full map of all the chromosomes and the sex gene, everything. You'll probably get a call from a geneticist or a doctor, again, saying it's the results are in, you know, it confirmed what we said before, or we actually found this, or whatever. They'll give you the information that you've been told from that full karyotype. And if for whatever reason it comes back positive for like Down syndrome or something like that, your doctor or your geneticist will help you in setting up further tests or appointments or whatever you need in order to progress. Now, my process went fairly quickly. For me, that was helpful. I liked that it was fairly quick. There was some waiting in there, but not too terribly much. For some people, I mean, especially if you have one done early, you may choose to maybe say, okay, can we push this back a week? I need an extra week to process. And I'm sure if you told your doctor, they'd be understanding with that. So, now, I feel like this was a lot of information to process. I'm sure this video is long, but there will be more following. I will be doing videos on testing or diagnosis week or things like that as I go through this journey as well. So there will be more coming. Some are just purely parenting, some are more related to this. If you have any questions or videos you'd specifically like to see, leave a comment below and let me know. As far as questions, if it's a question I know the answer to, or I know how to answer, I will do my best to give you an answer. If not, and even if I do, I will try to also give you a link, especially if I don't know the answer, to give you a link or direction as to where you can go to get that information. If I'm not completely sure, I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to direct you where you can go so I don't give you the wrong information. But I'll do my best to help if anybody has questions, to help you get the information, whether it's from me or somewhere else. So I guess that's it for today. There will be, again, videos coming soon, more. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.